Hi there, this is Michelle from the Trinidad Coastal Land Trust, and here we are at Trinidad State Beach on a beautiful morning. And today we're going to talk about how the ocean and the life in the ocean shapes features of Earth, so Ocean Literacy Principle 2. So there's some really fascinating ways in which the forces of the ocean, including the life in it, influence features of Earth in both destructive and constructive ways. So many of the rocks exposed on land were originally formed in the ocean a long time ago, and many of the landforms, like sandy beaches around me, are the result of powerful erosion processes. So from snail teeth to plankton made of glass, we will learn about both a destructive and a constructive process in which the ocean and its life shapes features of Earth. So many of you are probably familiar with how forces like rain, wind, and waves wear away the surface of the Earth. This is called physical erosion, and there's an example right behind me, or weathering. And much of this sand behind me here on the coast was originally eroded upstream in the watershed, perhaps where some of you live, and traveled down streams and rivers to settle here on the beach. Now, another form of erosion that is done by plants and animals is called biological erosion. There are many different species of plants and animals that have the ability to break apart rock. For example, some plant roots can create tiny fractures and cracks in rock, breaking away pebbles and sand, while some clams can bore into rocks by scraping away small bits of sand, creating holes in the rock to fit their shell. But my favorite example of biological erosion is the power of snails. Now you might be thinking, really, Michelle, snails? But hear me out, because this is really fascinating. So, there are many different types of snails or snail relatives that live in the ocean or at the edge of the ocean in the intertidal zone. Some species include tugula snails, periwinkle snails, and limpets, all of which have in common an organ called a radula. Now imagine a really long, skinny tongue covered with hard, spiny teeth rolled into a spool. This radula is what snails and limpets use to feed. They slowly crawl along, scraping films of algae off the rock with their spiny spools of teeth. The radula gradually unspools as the spines get dull from scraping rock, and simultaneously, this scraping of the radula breaks small bits of pebbles off from the rock, over time adding to the erosion of rocks and to the creation of sand. Amazingly, snails and limpets have an erosive power on rocks equivalent to wind, rain, and crashing waves. We just learned about an example of an important biological erosion process in which ocean life has the power to break apart rocks into sand over long periods of time. Now we will learn about a process in which ocean life creates rock. The ocean is brimming with many types of plankton, mostly small or microscopic beings that drift with the currents and are the base of the food web. There are two main types of plankton, phytoplankton, which photosynthesize, and zooplankton, which are animals, many of which are the larval stages of larger animals. One group of zooplankton are called radiolarians, which stem from the Latin word radius, meaning ray, spoke, or beam, which you can clearly see in this microscopic photo. These radiolarians come in many beautiful shapes and forms, usually with little spikes all around them that remind me of snowflakes. But the absolute coolest thing about them is that they are made of glass, also known as silica. And when there's an abundance of radiolarians in a given area in the ocean, and when they die and drift to the ocean floor, they create what is called a siliceous oozy layer. So, over long periods of geologic time, these oozy layers harden and shift around in the Earth's crust until it forms rock. And this very special kind of rock is called Radiolarian chert. And outcroppings of this rock dot the Trinidad coastline and all the way up and down California's coastline. And right here behind me, I actually have an example of this beautiful Radiolarian chert in layers right here on Trinidad State Beach. Look at how beautiful those layers are. And I just love to imagine how this rock was originally formed from microscopic glass plankton, radiolarians, just floating around in the ocean. And this is just a really crazy and cool example of how ocean and its life are creating features of Earth, like this rock behind me. In this video, we discussed the destructive forces of biological erosion by snail teeth, creating sand and shaping landforms like beaches, and also how glassy plankton create the rock-type Radiolarian chert, which dot the Humboldt coastline. So next time you visit your favorite sandy beach, whether it be by a river or a lake or the ocean, think about the journey that sand is going to take from source to sea. And the next time you have the opportunity to visit the ocean, I want you to take a good look at the water and try to imagine all of the plankton that's too small to see, and think about its life cycle and its future and whether or not it might go on to create rock in a really long, long future.